Good evening, everybody. Hope all are doing well. Good to see everybody. Just want to, on behalf of the church, and certainly for me, I want to say thank you for everybody for coming. If, for the most part, there might be a couple teenagers down there that could come on their own. For the most part, they're down there, those young ones, all the way up to the teenagers because of you. And thank you very much for that. The numbers are down due to some people being sick and away, but thankful for everybody that is here. Last night we began our study of the book of Genesis, and there was this, I'll use a baseball terminology, y'all knocked it out of the park. And then I'll use the baseball terminology. Does anybody know a baseball term that's in Genesis? When you score a lot of runs in one inning, they call it a big inning. The beginning. And I thought there was one that said something about the center court, but I couldn't find that today. So I may be wrong on that. That was about for you tennis enthusiasts. But anyway, we'll leave it at that. But the question I was going to ask tonight would be, what did you, give me some things. We're not going to go back over every little thing. It tells us point blank what he created. But what are some things that you may have learned, or maybe you even got confused based on my teaching or whatever last night? What are some things that you had no clue about until last night, or maybe, like I say, you're now a little bit confused or whatever? Anyway.
3 firmaments? I didn't.
3 firmaments?
Yeah, I didn't realize it's 3.
Well, honestly, I didn't realize until tonight. I was reading a little bit before that it uses the word firmament again. I thought, and I told y'all, the firmament was the one thing, because everything I studied, but then you read other, and again, different versions have different things. Other ones talking about different firmaments, so that was my bad to think that. But most commentaries that I read talked about the firmament as being what's right above us. But you're right, it does talk about that. Also, it mentions 3 heavens, if you will. What others? What's some other things that you may not have known? Is it cool enough for everybody? If it's warm for me, I know it's maybe not probably hot for you all. Anything else? Okay. We're going to jump right in tonight, and should you have any questions, and like I say, you all really did a great job last night of asking questions, making comments, and should you have anything you want to say, please do so. And, you know, if we have to rush through some of this, you know, I don't want to do that, but if we did, if anybody would want a more slow-paced study, we can arrange that. You know, we'll do that as a group or individuals or whatever the case may be. So should you want that, then let me know. We have already read all the way through the first chapter. We actually studied, and I briefly talked about all the way down through the 3rd day, and then so we talked about the fruit of the trees. You know, all trees, if it's a peach tree, it's going to always have a peach. Maybe different varieties of peaches, different varieties of apples, different varieties of whatever, but it's always going to be a peach tree, always going to be an apple tree, always going to be this. Cannot change that. God put that into existence. And then we mentioned the same thing applies to Christians. If the Word of God is sown, the seed, if we sow the seed, it will produce Christians. Then we got down to, starting like with verse 14. And again, the lights, a lot of good examples last night, a lot of talking about the light. You know, it's just daylight, I guess, but there's no specific definition. And I ask some questions that are unanswerable. Not everything in Genesis we'll never know. So there's going to be some speculation, and I don't like to speculate, but I'm just talking about trying to use your imagination and things like that, and see what might could have happened. We are not saying this is exactly what happened in any scenario, hardly, because we just don't know for sure. But just try to think outside the box a little bit, I suppose. But it says there in 14, let there be lights in the firmament of the heavens to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and seasons, for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heavens to give light on the earth. And so it was so. And what are those lights?
The moon and the stars.
Yep. Which were, 16 says he made the stars also. So I think all these lights, and when you read Genesis, again, this is somebody writing this, and I didn't say last night, most people say Moses is the one who wrote this. Even though Moses wasn't even born for 2,000 or 3,000 years later, 2,000 at least, maybe longer. But, so he's not, it's just like even the writers of the New Testament, they're given the inspiration to write this, but they're doing it in their human form. And so when you write some things, we have to kind of read between the lines to a certain extent. But the lights, there's just a lot of lights. And if you look up in the sky, there's a lot of lights, aren't there? And if it was dark enough, or if we went out to, UVA Wise used to have a telescope or whatever out there. I don't know if they still do, but you could go out and see some things. That's what the Hubble telescope is for, and things like that. But then God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. What are those lights called?
Sun and the moon.
Sun and the moon. Pretty simple, isn't it? Like we said yesterday evening, when you wake up in the morning, even though the sun hasn't risen in whatever part of the world you're in, the sun is going to be up on some places, and some places it's not going to be up. But it's always daylight. That's just the light that we're talking about. That don't know for sure, but it's just day. It's just light, and that's the light that He creates. And then this 17 is what Justin's kind of talking about. God set them in the firmament of the heavens to give light on the earth. So there is another firmament that has all these stars, and when we see, again, if you went and looked at a telescope, you would see a lot of the planets. You would certainly see the moon. Now, you can take a pair of binoculars and look at the moon and see a lot. But the telescope certainly makes it even more. I have never looked at planets or anything like that. Has anybody here done that? Okay. I'm sure it's awesome. And all of this is awesome, isn't it? When you read this, it's just awesome what God has done. And those are all the verses that we read last night. Like in Job 38, really 1 through 7, but 4 through 7, all those things that God is asking Job. Were you there when I created all this? Don't question me, Job. I'm the one who created all this. I'm the one who laid the foundations. I'm the one who, then in various other passages, he talks about, I took the sea and I made it stop. You ever go to the ocean, it never comes past a certain point, unless there's a hurricane or a tsunami or whatever. The tide brings it in, but it's only going to go so far. Why is that? Because God said for it to stop. It will not go any further. And so all of this is just awesome. If we really think about it, it's just amazing. That's why God is an awesome God. And so when we read about these things, and then if you do go out and observe nature and all those things, it's just amazing. And later on, we won't be getting that far, but when God told Abraham that your seed, that your family, us, all these years later, us, would be more numerable than the stars or the sands of the sea. That's a lot of people. That means there's more people than there are sand. There is sand. But I don't think anybody's ever gathered up all the sand and they'll tell you how many stars are in heaven. Scientists will say, oh, there's so many stars, but I think it's innumerable. So don't try to count something that's innumerable, right? But anyway, getting off a little bit, I guess, maybe. But the sun and the moon are to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And then God saw that it was good. Of course, God sees that it's good on 6 different occasions. What does he say on the 7th occasion? Just, it's very good. When he created man, it was very good. We are his crowning achievement, if you will. Any thoughts on those 4 or 5 verses? Don't be quiet now. Don't tell me y'all used up all your breath last night. In verse 20 it talks about, let the waters abound with an abundance of living creatures, and let the birds fly above the earth across the face of the firmament.